Okay, so now we're going to look at the type tool, and the type tool is just the letter T on the tool panel. So if I click, this is where my type is going to start typing from. You can see that flashing cursor there, so I'll just write something, and there you go, I've got my type set, right, there it is selected. Right. I can still change the colour like I would normally, you know, make sure it was on the fill, and I could change it to red. See, there it is as red, or I could, there it is as yellow, which you can barely see, right? Or anything like that. I could change it so it was outlined instead, so I had a stroke instead of a fill, right? And so on and so forth. The main point where you get to play with type, and let me just, I'll blow it up so it's nice and big. I'll blow it up a bit bigger than that, there we go. So nice and big, right? The main point where you can play with the type is here within character, right? So this first one is all the different types of fonts that I have to play with. So, and below it is a choice of styles that there might be. So, you know, that's how Century Gothic looks all the time. That's how it looks italic, so on and so forth, right? This one is for setting the size of the fonts. Setting the leading is the space between two lines, right? So if I just put a return in there, and then I'll highlight that, and I'll go to the leading, and I'll shrink the leading down. You can see that it's jumped. If I blow it right up, I'll type in 100. There you go, you can see how that's spaced out. I can change that back to automatic, and Illustrator then works that out for me, right? This next one, right, is setting the space, kerning, right, will set the space between two letters. So you can't see that because it's moving very minimally, so let me just type in 100 there, and you can see how the space between the F and the O has gone. Let me just do it again. I'll do it between the O and the R, and this time I'll set the kerning to 1000. It should be more of a jump. Boom. Yes, definitely more of a jump. Okay, so that's that. Let me just undo that. Okay, this next one, the tracking, is for spacing out a big group of letters, and it basically spreads them out. So you can see that if I click this one, well, you can set it in various increments. So you can see that's 50, that's 75. It's generally getting spaced out, but the actual size of the type is not adjusting. The letter F is still that height, and it's still that same width. It's more adjusting the line on which they're written on, stretching that out. However, if you did want to stretch an individual letter, you have the options here. So that would stretch it horizontally, that would stretch it vertically. So let me just show you. There's the F stretched 200% wider. Here it is 200% higher. Okay. This one is mainly used if you were doing dates. You know, if you had, you know, September the 4th, you know, for instance, and the TH was smaller and upwards. You know, you could also shrink that down so that they fall below the line. Right. And the final one within the character panel is for rotating a letter. So you can see that the E is, well, I'll do it so it turns quite a lot. The E totally rotates around. Okay, that's for giving it an underline. Oh, I'll select the word great. That other option is for giving it a strike through line. As you can see, the G has now got that. The language, mine's set to English USA. For some reason it should be set to English UK because I am in the UK, so when I come to do a spell check I need to know the right language. So that's me having played with some type, right? Again, along the properties at the top you've got the typeface, it tells you the regular, it tells you the point size. Paragraph is for adjusting things like, is it range left text, is it centered, is it range right? And you can see that, well, actually you probably can't see it at the moment. Let me just delete that and I'll write some new text. Whoops. It's all gone higgledy-piggledy because I forgot to reset all these settings. So let me just change that back to 0. I bet you that's a mistake that you guys will make, and I just proved it. Turn that off, knock that down a bit. Okay, right, so so you can see here that text is ranged right. It's on the right hand side. There it is centered, there it is ranged left. However, within paragraph there are lots more options. There's for justified type, force justified, right? Things like that, which won't really matter until I've got a big block of text. If, however, I say adjust this one, which is the indent for the start of a sentence, you can see that that's changing the indent. Also, this is a good place if you're doing a lot of type. I always have hyphenation switched off. There is nothing more annoying than hyphenated type, right? So that's that. Again, the opacity is how transparent it might be. And a final thing with the type tool, right? If I wanted to only type, say, within a set area, if I was to be on the type tool and I was to click and drag, that, I'll just type anything, that is the area that I can only type in, right? See? And it sticks to that area. If, however, I just clicked and I typed, press a letter, that will just go on and on and on and on and on until I press return. Okay, so that's that. Type does have other options, so this one is for drawing within a shape. So if I have a shape and then I click on that, I've there turned the shape that I've just drawn, in this case a rectangle, to be the type box. Another option is type along a path, so if I just very quickly create a path, change it to a stroke, and click on the type tool and click on the place where I started, I type along the path. Another option for the type tool is to type vertically, so like that. Okay. And that's typing vertically within a shape. And that one, if I draw a path again, is, need to change it, this one here is vertical type on a path. So you can see the type is literally following the path. So those really, quite simply, are all the functions of the type tool.